Good evening, good morning to everyone joining in for this session. This is a part of our GPC. This is a master class. And we would be getting into more details, but GPC gets together coaches from different parts of the world and we have peer coaching sessions. And as we have already heard from some of the coaches around here, there is a lot we're all gaining from connecting to these coaches from so many different parts of the world, and the learning goes on as everybody shares. So I would like all of you all to stick on for the session. We would be sharing the CCU form towards the end of the session, so that's when you would get to fill it, and I would send it across later on. And so over to you, Aparna, if you want to carry on with the rest of the session.
A very good evening and good morning to everyone. My name is Aparna. I have been part of the Global Peer Coaching since its inception. So as Shilpa likely touched upon, Global Peer Coaching was started in 2020 with an intention to reach out to coaches from across the world and practice. That's our intention as coaches, right? We want to get better at our craft. And this was a brainchild of Aniruddha. And as a chapter, we are very, very proud of this initiative. So very quick stats before I introduce our guest. We started GPC in the year 2020 with 3 cohorts and a total of 80 participants from 8 countries and 17 cities. It just got better in the next year. Year 2021, 2 cohorts, 88 participants from 20 countries and 38 cities. This year, we had 2 cohorts with 103 participants, 25 countries, and 44 cities. And this is our second masterclass this year. So let's get started. Our master coach today is Dr. Claire Beckett McInroy. A lot of us know who she is. She needs no introduction. However, I will try to do justice and introduce her. In her illustrious career spanning over 3 decades, Claire has been passionate about co-creating positive transformations in partnerships with people and organizations. From a role of a teacher post her BA honors to Dean of Students and Assistant Professor, from being a psychometrist to a lecturer, from being a learning and development consultant to a global speaker, author, master coach, leadership and development expert, Claire has done it all. She has a research doctorate from University of Bath, lectured at Harvard University, Mansoura University, I am not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, Claire, University of Manchester and University of Strathclyde. She has 60 plus published articles, 3 books, and is an editorial board member for the International Journal of Mentoring and Coaching, EMCC. Claire founded BMC and Coach Me in 2011. Trailblazing in the Middle East, specifically providing bespoke solutions for systemic impact. She is level A and B with British Psychological Society, ICF Master Certified Coach, as well as EMCC Master Practitioner and Accredited Coach Supervisor. That's a tall order, Claire. I have no idea how you do it, how you do so many things. And not just that, ladies and gentlemen, she also won gold as a best EMEA coach 2022. So a huge round of applause to her. Congratulations, Claire, on this achievement. And thank you so much for giving us your time. We're looking forward to hearing from you. With that, now I hand over the mic and the spotlight to you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate being invited again. I love speaking for your chapter and learning with us all together. So may I share my screen?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Fabulous. And what we're going to do to start with, I'm just going to play a little bit of music, and I want you to use the image that you'll see and just have a think of what you're experiencing right now. How are you, as we arrive into starting with this session today together? So are you ready?
Yes, Claire.
Absolutely.
And the music won't play. Why is that? How strange. So just look at the image instead and appreciate the silence in comparison. And are you moving fast on that train into the station? Are you there in the sunshine or maybe in one of the windows? Are you down on the floor, maybe near one of the cars? Have a think where you are right now and what does that mean to you in terms of the way you're arriving to the session? And if anyone wants to share, take yourself off the mic or by all means, put a comment in the chat. Anyone like to share?
Hello, Claire. Bindu here
Hi.
from the
Hi there.
UAE. I'm on that terrace and I'm watching all of that happening.
Fabulous. And when you're on the terrace and you're watching all of it happening, what do you want to experience in this session?
Look, I'm experiencing a lot of stillness, but I'm observing a lot of action.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else like to share?
Thank you,
Yeah.
Claire.
Hey Claire, Margie here.
Hi.
Hey. So I'm experiencing being in that train, the speed of the train, and what it means to me about this session is going along with the journey, trying to explore things that comes on the way, and trying to think about the destination that we will reach. So that's my feeling.
Fabulous. Thank you. Is there one more?
Yes. I'm reminded of my first ever visit to Chicago. And it was fascination for me to visit different spots in Chicago, and I'm at that space right now. It's like a first ever visit to a reflective space in the day to day, and looking forward to all the new discoveries that I can make in today's session. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. So be aware just from one image, and there was a million images I could have chosen. We've got three very different perspectives. However, if we were group coaching or team coaching, what's great is from that stimulus, we get an idea of how people are as they're starting the session. Why is that useful? Because it allows us to recalibrate to where the team is or where the group is. So it's a really useful activity. It's a nice way as a little exercise to get people livened up. But honestly, this can go really deep. You can spend even an hour with 6 people in a team coaching session. Where are you now as an individual? Where do you need to be? What will get you there? And as a team, at team level, where are you now? Where do you need to be? And what can get you there? So that is just one of the many different tools we can use online and of course in person as a stimulus. So today is all about reflective practice, and the idea of this session is to enable you to know, understand, and be able to apply some of the tools and techniques of reflective practice. So let's just have a raise of hands if you're on the screen, or the reaction one. If you rate yourself A reflective practitioner, thumbs up. I'm doing it absolutely just poles apart. If you don't reflect, leave it without a thumb. Are you ready? And go. Let's see what we've got in the room. Just going to scan along. Okay, so I'd say from that, we've got about 10% of people here who reflect. What's interesting is, I bet many of you reflect in action, in the moment. Should I ask that question? Should I stay quiet that bit longer? Or even on action when you come out of a session, even when driving the car home, there's many different ways that we can reflect all the time. So the idea of this session is to also enable you to explore where you are in terms of reflection and other tools that you can use to reflect. Now, I do need to just ask the organisers, for some reason, it's like I can't move my slides on. The screen looks different than I'm used to. Is it me, or am I being a rookie, or is it different today?
It looks fine from our end. What isn't working? Yeah.
So I'm still on the first slide for some reason. It won't move on.
Can you click on the got it and then check? There is
There's a pop-up on the screen.
If you click on got it.
Let's see. Can't see that.
Maybe you could reshare, Claire.
Yeah, let's see if that helps. So, you know, what we normally do is just click and then how strange. I suppose what I could do is email it to one of the organisers.
Yes, sure.
How strange. So what I'll do, I'll give you a little activity to think about while I share the slides across. So what I want you to think about is, in terms of you as a reflective practitioner, what are the many things that you can reflect on? And you may want to jot it down for a few minutes. What are the many things that you can reflect on as a coach? If you're a coach supervisor, as a coach supervisor as well, and even a mentor coach, where you're able to support others, enable others to work up the competencies for credentialing purposes and so forth. So I'll give you a few seconds to do that, and we'll see if I can work this out. I've worked out how to move it on. So, anyone like to share or put in the chat? What are all the things you can reflect on as a coach, supervisor, leader of your family, leader of yourself, your life, also a mentor coach? Anyone like to share? Any comments in the chat?
Yes, Ashish Kumar said, am I helping my client get what he signed up for? Is one of the questions.
I love it, yeah. analysis of impact, yeah. And then from that, and what ways can you find out if you're enabling your client? How are they getting impact? Great question. I see another one there in the chat. Was I truly listening? What could I have done differently? Yeah. And what I love about that is also the listening beyond words, you know, to tone and pitch of voice, to body posture, movements, listening to what's not being said in those silences as well. One of my biases that creep into the conversation, and people have opinions on this. I have an opinion, Johnny, in terms of, can we ever be purely non-directive? In every coaching session, we're making decisions. Therefore, the decision we take is actually in part directing. Of course, we can try our best to be non-directive. Was the session impactful? How can I learn and grow? Yeah. Is it a goal or a statement? Yeah. And is the goal achievable in the session? And what way can that goal ripple in to the person once they leave the session and what they do, who they are in the world? And also, what way does the goal for that session link into the bigger picture for them? And how might I be in the session to be in complete service of my client? And what does that look like? And when in complete service, what will they experience? Another thing that comes out a lot is fit for purpose. You know, life is happening. There's so much going on for us all the time. Am I right now at my best to be in service for my clients? That's the thing of, you know, do we need some mental coaching? Because now and again, just like driving, we can get into bad habits, or supervision, that restorative element in terms of maybe I need a break now, or maybe I'm taking on too many clients right now. The benchmarking element of supervision as well. Where am I in terms of the competencies? Where am I in terms of bravery as a coach and using myself as an instrument? And then another aspect is also resourcing. What else can I try? I feel a bit stuck with this client and I don't feel things are moving on. Of course, checking in with them is an important thing, but what other tools can I put into my bag in service of the client? So here's what we're looking at today. There's a million things to reflect upon. Why reflect? What to reflect upon? And ways to reflect. We'll do some activities as well. And you will have a go at committing to increased reflective practice for the purpose of improving and polishing your practice, but also for the sake of our field, the field of coaching. So this is a little poem by Leonard Cohen. We can use images, we can use artifacts, even a glass of water. Anything can be blended into a coaching session, and poetry is another one of those things. So just have a think as you hear this, what it brings up for you. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget the perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And we're all work in progress. It's an ongoing journey. And, you know, the commitment to professional development is there clearly with ICF. When we gain or renew credentials, we have to continue to keep having, for example, 40 hours of CCEs to be able to renew our credential. With this poem, one thing I often think about is that when you see the cracks in the pavement, and sometimes the most beautiful flowers can come out of them. So if we don't go to that growth edge, that tricky, that prickly, sometimes we don't get the beauty on the other side. and the experience of the way we've grown. I've certainly kept a reflective log, many of them over the years, and some of the things I used to reflect upon as a coach years ago. And then I look back and I see how things have changed, how things have shifted over time, and the types of thing that I focus on in terms of my reflection now. And we see growth, and we also see themes that keeps recurring. Maybe I take that to supervision, because clearly it's something that I need to explore further. So just a very little snippet. Reflective practice has gone on forever, you know, all the way back to Aristotle and many of the philosophers. And then it became firmly in the field of education and health professionals over the years. And The Reflective Practitioner was a fabulous book that came out in 1983. Eric Dehan at Hull Business School, fabulous in the coaching world, has done a lot of research and many books in coaching, and he talks about pre-flexion. That is reflecting before we do something. So the type of things like, what impact do we need with this client for this session or with this team? And then Eve Turner and Peter Hawkins talk about fast forward rehearsals, the way we can practice things. Of course, with coaching, we never know what will come into a session. However, right there in the session with a client, we can enable them to practice. So for example, if someone wishes to go for a promotion, then we pretend that we're the line manager, or pay rise, for example, we pretend we're the line manager and they practice with us. It's more likely to happen outside the session. And David Clutterbuck talks about a number of different perspectives in reflective conversations. And he also talks a lot about coaching maturity, the maturity of the coach over their career. John Leary Joyce reminds us that change occurs when we become more of who we are, as opposed to being who we feel we need to be. And I'm wondering if you'll reflect on that for a minute. And when I am more of myself in coaching sessions, the impact of that on my client work is, and I'll leave that one for you to answer yourself. Great inquiry. Nancy Klein talks about promoting independent thinking. And there's also the work of Barry Oshry, who talks about reflex is the opposite of reflection. When we just, you know, the sort of no but attitude doesn't get us anywhere. And then Marcia Reynolds highlights that coaching needs reflective work right there in the moment in the session, and spaciousness allows for that on our part and the part of the coachee, and together working in partnership.
Claire, could you take off the extended view, because we are able to see 2 slides on the screen?
Ah, okay. So this was the thing that was confusing me a little bit earlier. Let's see if I'm really confused why it looks so different today. Is it too small?
You could probably use full slideshow, that maybe in the display settings.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yay! Apologies about that. And of course,
so far we
afterwards,
were seeing the presenter mode. Yeah.
Do you know, I've never had that before in the sharing, honestly. I know you believe me because we've all been working online for at least 3 years now, if not longer. And of course, I will share the slides afterwards. So there's things like strengths-based reflections. Where am I now? Where do I need to be? What will get me there? And some of the things you can look at there are, for example, what has been successful in my coaching? Appreciation. What do I need to change, shift, improve to make things even more impactful? And what's the evidence that it needs to shift? What will enable it to shift? What ways can I act on that, sustain that, increase that today? Who do I need to be able to work in that way? And then what actions do I commit to? What am I saying yes to? What am I saying no to? And what impact, more than anything, what impact will this bring? And if anyone would like to share on those thoughts, now's the time. You're very welcome to, either in the chat or out loud. Then we will move on. So Peter Hawkins has written a piece in a book we created called Creative Reflective Practice, and there's over 40 professionals from around the world, and he talks about the way there's increased complexity, change is happening at such a faster rate. We need to stop and take the time to reflect if we want to be at our best for what the future needs. So a very systemic future back and outside in focus. So here's, part of the rationale. We won't go too deep into this one. This is just some of the things that are useful for reflection. This can go very deep in terms of the theories behind it as well. So reflection doesn't mean that it needs to be more. We can just stay in reflection for the purpose of process and exploration. And we all know that that's beneficial to our clients as well. And it's not about judging. It is about getting curious, number 3, maybe, possibly, I wonder what else. And then also determine nothing. It's about then going away and experimenting to see if there is a shift and a change from you reflecting. Now, I invite you all, maybe not now, but a little bit later, to go somewhere different in your office or in your house or even outside, somewhere that is atypical, unusual for you to be. And I invite you to literally lie down or just sit in the corner and look at something from a different angle. A fabulous thing to do in this way, for example, is just stick your head under the kitchen sink. I know it sounds crazy and I know it may not be comfortable, but it's a place, unless you're a plumber, that we never tend to look. And just be there for a few minutes and notice the colours, the shapes, what you're experiencing in your comfort or discomfort of being there, what you're noticing cognitively in your mind. Oh, so that's how the water works, emotionally and also somatically in your body. So reflection enables us to explore things in different ways, look at different angles and different perspectives. It can increase confidence, support wellness, and also grow self-esteem and emotional intelligence. It helps us to benchmark, just like with the competencies. And we develop knowledge right there in action. So it's not some theories that are out there, it's actually practitioner research that we can discover. It improves performance, and of course, it helps us to problem solve. Are you bought in? Are you convinced that we need to reflect? Well, I hope so. So the impact of reflection is this, and then we're going to get into some of the reflection. We've mentioned the well-being, the confidence, the emotional intelligence. You've got here as well, you know, the abstract thinking on the right side. What other ways are there of exploring the world around us? And then Nancy Klein, I love her work, and she talks about the thinkers. I sort of take this a bit wider, because those that we coach or that we're with in supervision, or if there's a leader and, you know, one-on-one executive coaching, they are thinkers, but they're also doers and learners and explorers and experiencers. So it isn't just about the thinking, it's also getting down into our bodies to really understand what's going on for ourselves as practitioners, but also enabling our clients to do that. Now, at the start, I gave you this activity where we had this slide issue. You know, what sort of things can we reflect on? So we've shared on that quite a lot already. And reflection can be personal, just for you. You know, what ways can I manage my time more effectively? Or as a family, we're deciding at the moment, should we go to the UK for the festive season, or should we stay in Doha, for example? And that isn't a decision that just I make, or myself and my husband. We speak to the kids. It's a joint decision. We're reflecting on the pros and cons of the options. And then as a team, in organisations or in communities, the board of ICF Pune, then that is a fabulous place to reflect together, to, you know, see what's working, what isn't, ways to improve practice. Reflecting as whole organisations, communities, different systems, the government system, the healthcare system, and way beyond. So when you see it like that, reflection can have a positive, transformational impact on our world. So I invite you to reflect now, and you can even reflect by writing or drawing, by just closing your eyes or leaving them open and thinking, by staring out of the window. Many people with, for example, ADHD think better when they're moving, or, you know, not necessarily focusing on what's on the screen. Other ways to reflect. Imagine you've got a magical pen and you're writing or drawing or colouring in the air. So I invite you to reflect in whatever way you wish to, and think, if you relive today, what would you do differently? Because. And what are you holding on to that you might need to let go of about today? And out of all of this brief reflection, what's the most important learning that's come out of that brief reflection? And I'm aware, as I give you space to do this, I'm aware of my breathing is that bit calmer. I can hear the air conditioning that I wasn't aware of before. And everyone's really well behaved. because there's absolute silence in our room. So to shake up that silence, who would like to share what they have just been reflecting on? Remembering as well that this session is recorded, and so that may impact what you choose to share. Would anyone like to share?
Hey Claire, this is Margie again.
Hi.
Yeah, hey. So on the last question, what will I do differently about the things that matter most in my life? And I think this is really important as a person. We do a lot of things, we want to do a lot of things, and situations change. So what we observe is people keep getting confused into what next we want to do. So I always reflect on this last part, that what will I do differently about the things that matter most in the life. And I create a list of priority based on the impact that those actions will have on my life. And even though I want to do certain things, I try to find out the most important thing which I can achieve, which is doable for me, uh, and how it will impact my surroundings. So that is what I do, and then slowly create a path of course where I want to reach. So I might take a little longer to reach where I want to reach, but at least I want to ensure that I don't lose focus of it, and create small steps, sustainable steps, which slowly takes me to my goal. So that is what I want to do. Yeah, that's my reflection.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It almost, the process that you used almost sounds like a coaching model in itself. Brilliant. And I love the bit about transition planning. What way can I get there? Another useful thing we can consider also is, coping with setbacks and dependencies. What might go wrong during this path, and what way will I resiliently get back on track as well? Thank you for sharing. And another thing, when we use reflection with our clients, notice I didn't just say, write this down, because some people are visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and some people prefer reading and writing. So the more spacious we can leave it when we're encouraging clients to reflect, the better it is. And I mentioned this before, reflection, we've got the left and right side of the brain, the logical and the creative. And we've got all this data coming at us, and we've also got our emotions. You see people's body language, they do this with hand on heart. These things we can share back to them or mirror what's going on. All of this data has impact. And then also, intuition, that gut reaction, that hunch, that feeling. How much do you use your intuition when you're coaching? That innate feeling, that is often useful to share with the coachee and then follow it with a question. So, who to reflect with? So this comes from some of the work by David Clutterbuck and others. So when we reflect with ourselves, that is impactful. If we reflect with family and friends, it makes it even more impactful because you get more than one perspective. However, if you reflect with people who will speak probably with more bravery, that takes us into peers, teams, groups. A professional sounding board is a different environment than reflecting with a best friend, who some best friends will be totally blunt and fair and open, honest and transparent. And there's other times a friend may, want to put you in a cozy blanket and not quite give it you in the way that sometimes we need to hear it. However, when you reflect, even beyond reflecting with peers, when you reflect with a qualified and experienced supervisor, the impact can increase. So there's one thing that's used in Gestalt in terms of bringing reflection into our coaching, and it's to exaggerate things. So think of a time in your life, and I'm using the example on the left here, when everything was going well. I encourage you to, just get that into how you're sitting right now, and get that into your thoughts, and remember what you experienced at that time, and now try and exaggerate it. So if you're sat there and you're comfortable and you're smiling, do it even more. Maybe take up even more space around that. And what does that bring? And what do you experience when you go even more into that experience? So that's the sort of, peak experience, a moment in your life when everything was going well, or the happiest day of your life, and so forth. And then on the other side, and we'll just touch on this just because of the, the environment online and so forth. Think of a time, not right down here, but just a little bit, where things were not necessarily going in flow. And what was that like, and what was around you, and who was around you, what were you experiencing? And then exaggerate that one, go deeper into it. My shoulders went down then without even making them, they just naturally sagged a little bit more. And what are you noticing now about that experience? So more insight comes from this Gestalt technique of exaggeration, going to the extremes and even reducing it. What if there was none of that or less of that? That can be a useful way to consider different things as well. What if there was even more of that in your life when things are going well? What way can you ensure that that happens? Okay, and then here's a nice perspective. All of this works, all of the artwork is done by someone who trained with us in coaching about 10 years ago, and now he's training in supervision with us. He works at Lego, but he does his own work as well. And yes, sometimes we can feel that our clients or even ourselves are in a box, and so it's like, get out the box. But actually, with the exaggeration, what if there's no box at all? I was in a supervision session once, and the image that I got was being sat on the box. I'm in control of the box. I can get in and out of it when I want, type of thing. So can you see how bringing in different perspectives as opposed to polar perspectives can help increase thinking? So this is a fun way to reflect. All you need is a box, or you can make them as well. You can get the template online, and basically you put different things on each side. You can do it individually or as a group or as a team. And it may be even in terms of agile coaching from projects, a retrospective. Let's look at this project and see what we recall. What do we remember? And then you throw the dice, and the next thing that comes up is analysis. And when we analyze this project, what worked well, what didn't, what was behind that? Yeah, and what's our understanding from what we've been sharing so far? So you can write anything you want on the different sides of the dice for the purpose of the group or team coaching, and people can use it on their own as well. This is a model for reflection. We need to stop sometimes to make ourselves consciously have time to reflect. Sometimes we need to stay in reflection that bit longer instead of jumping to move towards trying things out and the solution. Okay, now, from a lot of research that we've done, and you may want to take a screenshot of this or take a picture on your phone, and the slides will go around afterwards. From a lot of research, we realized that these are the key competencies of reflective practitioners. Okay, so if we just focus on the inner circle, being able to synthesize and evaluate, being self-aware, gaining 360 feedback as well is really useful, views from others, being honest and courageous, working iteratively and being flexible along the way and experimenting, being able to describe things and use data, having compassion and an open heart and being motivated to actually reflect and take the time to do it and learn from it and use that knowledge in the future, being able to analyze, and we've got their practice and commitment. And of course, it can be that we need to be disciplined to make sure it really does happen. So if you look at that, which of those are you a rock star at? Which of those are your strengths? And which areas in terms of reflective practice do you need to have a go at developing further? And what I thought we'd do now is just go into breakout rooms just for 5 minutes so people can share in terms of their strengths and developments around that model, what they're great at reflecting, and which competencies they may need to reflect on a little bit further. Is a breakout possible?
Yes, Claire, it's possible. How many in a room do you wish?
I'd say, because we're doing 5 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 in a room, that will probably work at its best. And we'll just do 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Put the image back up just in case anyone wants to take a picture again.
Okay, so it's 3 to 4 in a room, right?
Perfect.
So I'm opening breakout rooms. You can join in. And how much time are we looking at, Claire?
5 minutes.
It's okay. Right there.
Fabulous.
Opening the rooms. Claire, you would have gotten an invite as well.
The 4 per room.
That's perfect.
Some of them have 3.
I can get a little sip of water now as well. So how's everything been going with the conference?
Should I pause the recording?
Yeah, I
At the
guess I
moment?
do.
Time. Any other, oh, that hasn't been recorded. Any other comments that anyone would like to share in terms of the model? I'll bring the model back up. Strengths and development areas that you feel you need in terms of reflective practice. Anyone like to share?
Yeah, I just decoded that for my group. I can share that with the permission of my other 2 members. See, I just took an example. Let's say that center is the bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've rated myself. I did the reflective best self exercise. Maybe the members have rated me or rating myself, whichever way that you want to follow the method. Say now, for me to feel that I am 100% self-aware, bullseye is 10. Currently, I am at 5. Okay, so I need to travel the path of 5 to 10 for me to feel complete in self-awareness. That is my realization of myself. Then what happens is, while doing that, I also try to align my values, because while traveling, what matters is values matters the most. I cannot forego my values while I'm traveling from X to Y. So while doing that, so when I'm trying to align my values, some obstacles pop up. So that is where we capture and coach the clients on that obstacle. So this is called a bullseye exercise. You can use it to get to the obstacles that are coming in the way of traveling from X to Y and not aligned with your values and purpose. Calling, you call it, one of both of them. That's what I shared.
Fabulous. Thank you, Mantha. Thank you. Anyone else like to share any areas that are tricky for you and others that you find easy?
Yeah, hi, I can go. This is Meghna. So for our group, we were really good at being critical thinkers about what we've been doing and what we want to do, and that's me as well. We were good with belief. We were good with behaviors and what kind of behaviors we want to model. But we would like to work on creativity and practice, and commitment and discipline is something that I definitely would like to work on.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So let's move on. Another way to reflect is through drawing. So this is actually my colleague Samira. This was to do with project management and all the different parts of the project, just to try and understand further what was happening in the project. Now, the brain thinks in many different ways. And for the brain to work at its best, aside from the, you know, being hydrated and not tired and not too much sugar, etc., what's also important is for us to feel calm and relaxed. Now, the implication for this is if teams and groups, and even in one-on-one coaching, if there's psychological safety, then that means we have the happy hormones, the endorphins and so forth, that actually aid us, so to speak, in terms of allowing creativity to happen. And if there isn't, if there's one member of the team who always speaks over the others and doesn't allow others to share, or other situations like that, then people can get the cortisol and the hormones we don't want that reduce the brain's capacity to think creatively. So that little bit is really important for coaching. Of course, you can use anything you want. Lego, for example. This was some supervision that I was doing where I was working on a project and I'd started, but for some reason I wasn't as concerned about finishing, but just getting to that halfway point, because I know that the rest of it is going to be easier. And so the supervision was around exploring what the setbacks and the dependencies were in terms of getting to that halfway point. And I kept that little piece on my desk to keep glancing at, to help keep me focused. We use this model, the Coach Me model. It's result focus. It's all about reflecting on the skills we've got. And this can be for coachees, but for us ourselves, of course, as well. You know, where are my skills at? Where did I need to be? If I was thinking of myself, I want to explore more in terms of skills and knowledge around psychodynamics to be able to use that in my coaching. My focus last year was on appreciative inquiry and acceptance and commitment coaching. And then knowledge, where are we in that area? This can also be done at team level. Where are we as a team in terms of the knowledge? And then the behaviours or attitude. Reflection. How often do we stop and take the time to reflect? What am I noticing about the way that I reflect? What other ways could I reflect to be more expansive? I've mentioned transition planning, setbacks and dependencies, and then also action. What ways can I act differently, and how does that affect who I'm being and the way I'm showing up in our world? At the bottom, if, for example, you are coaching a team, we can look here at the field that they're in, whether it's, we've just been talking in the when you're in the breakout about the financial sector, for example, in the banking sector, or it may be the hospitality sector or the health sector, the way the health sector's had to reflect over the last few years because of COVID, having a systemic focus. What do the clients need us to focus on in this supervision session? Or for our coachees, what do their clients need them to focus on in their coaching sessions? And then at the top, we've got belief. We believe that reflection can have impact and improve professional practice. What way can we keep it moving forward with momentum, and celebrate when we've retried things and they've gone well? So that's a model that you're welcome to have a go at and use with your clients. Now, I do have it in Hindi and I think Tamil. However, there's other languages that we don't have it in. So if any of you can speak any other languages, we'll share it later. That's the link for the website. It's in over 30 languages, and we're on a mission to have it translated into, well, every language in the world. That's the mission. Other ways to reflect, using things like mind maps with words and pictures, that can be really useful as well. And then we call this activity mining for gems. So quite often when people go, you know, metal detecting and they find something, it's a bit of stone and the machine's saying there's something in it, and we have to get all the dirt off it. So this is the mining element, polishing things. There's also Bloom's taxonomy can be really useful to enable people to actually understand the depth that reflection can go. I'll just write that in the chat. There we go. Yeah, really useful tool. So mining for gems, going deeper until we find, you know, what's the root cause? What's this really about? That type of reflection, as we know, takes us under the iceberg in coaching. And then this is a way to reflect using image cards. And we have image cards that we use, like physically. I've got some in my hand here that we can use in person, or you can show it. It's possible online that way, but we also use it in things like Miro, so that we can move the cards about with the coachee. Now this was actually a session where I was reflecting on a team coaching session. And we've got, you know, without giving too much away to make the team identifiable, there was someone top right acting a little bit childish. Someone else is like the police person who wants everything perfect and, you know, follow the rules completely. Time, they weren't moving on fast enough for the project deadline, so that was relevant. Some things need to be cut away. There was things that were being procrastination and also going round and round instead of it is what it is, let's move on. You know, Stephen Covey's work, what's in and out of your control. So you can see with the image cards, every little bit enabled me to reflect on that session and gain further insight. So that's a creative way to reflect. And then using metaphors as well. So one way to use metaphors is also with the cards. So have a think now. Think of something that's a blockage for you personally, something that's stopping you moving forward, achieving more, or making a decision, something that's a blockage, and just looking at those images. Using the images metaphorically. Which one are you attracted to? And they are different sizes. The reason for that is when I was doing the reflection on the team coaching session, some of the topics were bigger, and that's why those cards are bigger. And of course, when you do it online in Miro, it's easier to make the cards bigger and smaller. So for you, in terms of this blockage, which card are you attracted to? And I invite someone again to share, and we'll just play for a minute together. Would anyone like to share?
I'll go with Ledo.
Fabulous. So Reka, and in terms of the Lego and you ironing out this blockage, what drew you to the Lego?
The model, actually. I think I need some clarity in that space, and taking the time to go through that clarity piece is what will help me move forward. That's what I'm seeing.
And looking at that image and considering clarity, what will help you move forward?
Taking time to sort my thoughts. I mean, looking at the blocks, it's color coding it by shape, sizes, etc. But the equivalent of thoughts in my mind, if I were to be able to really clear that space, perhaps I'll feel prepared enough to take the next step forward.
And I notice now that you've spoken, when I look at that image, there isn't a lot of space in that image. What comes up for you now?
I think organizing the thoughts or organizing the blocks is clarity, is order, and I think space is the resultant of that.
And if you were those blocks, when there's order and clarity, what will that bring?
It will bring a sense of order and calm, and knowing that I'm in the right place.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, that was interesting.
It is fascinating every time, and every scenario and every image can bring out different things. So I notice in the chat, Bindu talks about the sand model over there. Sheila's mentioning the blocks. Pradeep has talked about the snake, and we've got words of muddle in terms of the blocks. So see the way any stimulus can help us with our reflection. It's really useful. And we can look at things in different ways, physically, socially, personally, even, philosophically, spiritually, existentially. What really is the purpose? Why am I on this earth right now? What's my purpose? So there's many different realms of existence that we can use as lenses to explore and reflect. There's loads of different models. I've shared one already, the Coach Me model. Here's another one. Personally, I want the arrows to go both ways, so there's just a caveat there, but basically, what happened? What were you thinking and feeling? What was good or bad about the experience? What else can you make about this situation? What's the learning? What else could be done? And if this situation came up again, what might you do differently? What might you do the same? And it carries on. Then we go away and practice, and we can begin the cycle again. This is one of my favourite quotes ever. The moment between what you once were and who you are becoming is where the dance of life really takes place. And so these, the cards I shared, they've also got different stimulus in terms of different parts of the model. Using a systemic lens and awareness of the field that we've mentioned. If you think of one particular sector right now, and I'm choosing to think of the UK government and all what's been going on there over the last couple of months. What's happening in the field? You can make up your own words for that. I think chaos is one thing, lack of trust is another thing. What's the energy right now? Tense, prickly. I also feel that there's lack of support in terms of the UK government. What needs to shift in the system? All of the parties to lean in, even the other parties, to work together instead of spending most of their energy on getting at each other and not moving things forward. What are the voices in the system saying? So this could be the voices of a bus driver, a doctor, a mother, a father, a teenager watching in terms of the way that some people are leading the country. What are those voices saying? And what way are the results focused on the future and addressing how the future needs can be met? So I gave the example there of the UK government. Can you see again how just some reflective questions can take us in so many different ways? Now, on the back of these cards, we've also got words. So again, as a stimulus, it may be in group or team coaching at the start of the session. Choose a card. What way can you put those words together? Which word stands out the most? What's behind that word? Why is that one upside down? So many different ways we can just explore, either organically as things emerge or with a particular focus. And again, using the cards. So this time, have a think of you and your coaching practice. Whether you're internal or external, or you coach part-time or full-time, or you coach online or offline, one-on-one or teams, have a think about one particular thing you'd like to explore in terms of your coaching practice. And when you look at this image of the chili, what stands out? And that stands out, what is it telling you in relation to your coaching practice? I'll give you an example. It's hot at the moment. There's a lot going on. It's a chili. So there's just one way of interpreting it. What's clear? Can you see parts of the image are really clear and others are blurry? What's blurry in terms of your practice? What's in the background that might need more focus? And overall, what's the message from this image for you in terms of your coaching practice? And all that from the image of a chili. Would anyone like to share?
Hey Claire, maybe one Margie here. So one
Hi.
thing what, yeah, hey. I think one thing what I can think of in terms of my coaching practice, looking at this images, how do I improve so that I can bring more clarity on the things, like, you know, the chili, for example. So how do I make things more clear, like chili, when I am, you know, speaking to the client, or for the client rather, you know, and what are the things, so as you mentioned, what are the things which are blurring right now, and what do we need to make it more clear, as the chili image? So that is what I can think of.
Fabulous. And you'll get the slides and you can take that image and you can think about it even more. Thank you for sharing. Fabulous. And we've mentioned these before, and existential inquiries, you know, another thing you can do, I believe this picture is in Pune, is that correct? Or the internet, Google said it was. So you can ask people in terms of a topic like we did at the start, where are you now in terms of you in your career of coaching? And some people may be on top of the tower and others might be climbing the small trees. Others may be in the water. I'm trying to survive, help. So this can also be used. And then where do you need to be and what can help you get there? Who can help you get there? So any image can be used as a stimulus. And this is one from our book. You know, if the moon was shining down on this particular reflection, what would the moon share? What would the moon say? Or at the bottom, and when you're really grounded, what do you know is fact and what's not? In the middle there, sunny days. And when there's sunshine shining on this, what will that bring? What will that produce? And so forth. So many different ways to use these things as a stimulus. The hardest thing about really seeing and really hearing is when you really have to do something about what you've seen and heard. So what that's about is, so we got all this knowledge, we then need to put it into action so that we can apply it. Really important. So we're coming to the end of the session now. This is a book we've written with Peter Hawkins, David Clutterbuck, Nancy Klein, some of the big names out there. So I want to offer one complimentary book. ICF Pune can work out how, in whatever way you choose, how you decide on who the winner of the book is, and I will get it posted over. Remember, creative practice can be fun, and it's even more fun, and it can go even deeper when we do it together. So these are the image cards we've been using before, and again, like I said, they're also on DeckHive. So if anyone has a DeckHive account, you can use them online with clients there. We do a number of programs. I'm not going into sales at this point. And if you do need to contact us, then feel free. Follow us on social media. We're always posting about coaching and supervision and leadership and reflection. And remember, individually, we are one drop. Together, we're an ocean, and together we can create positive transformation through reflection.
Awesome.
Any questions?
So we've got about 7 minutes. Any questions for Claire? You can drop it in the chat or you can unmute and speak.
I can. Can you share the contact slide again? I will do. Sure.
Hi, Claire. Bindu here. Sorry.
Hi there.
Can I ask a question? It's coming from a very genuine space. I'm listening to you, and I've heard lots of good things about your book. There are so many of my batchmates who've done ACC with me, who's used the book, and they found it really good.
Oh,
I'm yet to read it.
hear.
I will. But my question is very, coming from the space of when we've been through the coaching, training, we've been asked to, stick to a very, pure traditional coaching model, and I wonder how, like when we go down reflection. The path of reflection quite a bit. I'm wondering, you've traveled that path, so I'm sure you're the best person to answer that question. How does that take, how does that sustain the pure coaching model that we are expected as ICF members to sustain? Does it take away from it? Does it go in a different direction? Yeah, that's the question.
Okay, so this is just an opinion, my opinion. We created the Coach Me model and we purposely put reflection in there. Reflection in action, reflection on action after we've done it, and preflection, using it for the future. And we created that from 8 different coaching models. And one thing we found that wasn't really prevalent in other models with that piece around setbacks and dependencies, transition planning. So what we found was, if someone, for example, follows the GROW model, what's the goal? What's the reality? What are the options here? What's the willingness to act? And then we close it up with action accountability. That's pretty linear. And we feel you can't get masterful coaching unless there's more of an eclectic approach, because human beings rarely think in a linear fashion or act in a linear fashion, and bring groups and teams into that, it's even more complex, and we need to be adaptive. So personally, I found over the years that training with a number of different approaches, a number of different coach training schools. I mean, we've got, starting in November, we've got 4 people from ORSC coming to train with us in supervision. Right now, I'm mentor coaching 2 of the faculty from CTI. I really admire so much work out there. And so what we found is, just last year, I trained with John O'Leary Joyce, a Gestalt certificate. And so then I can add that into my toolbox. And I also find that moving towards masterful coaching, the model is there. And now and again, you just go into the center to the results, or you move to reflection, and you may even stay with the purpose of the session being reflection, as opposed to jumping to action, accountability, and so forth. So for me, masterful coaching is a lot more fluid, eclectic, and to be honest, from mentor coaching, I found that people who rigorously follow a specific formulaic model, they find it difficult specifically to go from PCC to MCC. And I wish this conversation was an hour long, because I'd really love to hear what others, and especially MCCs out there, feel about that as well. I hope that helps a little bit.
I would love to be a fly in the wall on that conversation.
Yeah, it needs to happen, that conversation, doesn't it? Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Yeah, hi. I had a question. As coaches, we are all the time moving our clients to action and growth and renewal. And I think reflection is a big part, because that leads to self-awareness. So, but I feel like, being in reflection can be extremely, like floating on water. It's like nice, you're lulling and you're writing about it and you're talking about it, and you can be in that reflective space for a long time without moving into action. So in your practice, what works in terms of reflection actually leading into action?
And reflection may not always be that nice floating on water. Reflection can also be prickly. Reflection can actually exasperate the fact that people want to get out of where they are and quickly shift them into where they want to be. Just another perspective. And if we're floating on water, what's beneath the water? What's the beliefs that are there? What are the values that are present? In terms of moving to action and accountability, go first to the learning. And from this reflection, what have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about your place in our world? Your place in your organization, your family? What needs to happen from that learning? So make sure that little step in the middle takes place. Does that help? Thank you. So thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed my time. That time's gone quick. I will make sure you get all the slides. I have another ICF event in, 59 minutes in another building. We're going to be working with clay and Cinderella. So that one will be an interesting one as well. Thank you so much for the invitation. Lovely to be with you all.
Thank you so much, Claire.
Pleasure.
And thank you everyone for being here, sticking on till 7 o'clock India time. And thank you for being present as well as we moved on with the session. Aparna, do you want to just close in?
Yes, I was actually waiting for Aniruddha to finally speak. However, thank you so much, Claire, and all the participants in GPC. We're very proud. We're all learning, and I think today I've been taking random notes very quickly. Whether I get the presentation from Claire or not, there's so much I at least personally took away from this conversation today. Claire, thank you so much for that. And yes, going back to reflect a lot of things that we as coaches can do to make this world a better place. So with that said, thank you so much once again, and have a great evening, and very happy Diwali to all of those who are celebrating.
Yes. Thank you to all. Thank you, Claire.
Pleasure. And I'll get the slides over to you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you again.
Bye-bye.
Everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Aniruddha and Pune team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome.